Hey guys, welcome back for another episode. Now, I wanted to do something a little bit interesting. So I wanted to do my CZ457 MTR versus this Marlin XT22. Now, you're thinking to yourself, first things first, like how can you compare these two rifles? And I'll show you in just a second how I did that. But I just want to go through these two rifles and how I'm going to compare them. This was my first rifle. It's a Marlin XT22. I'll just show you what's on the top here. Oops, sorry, I just kicked that other barrel there. So these are cleared, so there's nothing in them. But I'll just show you what's on the top here. So this is a loopholed VX Freedom 3-9 by 40. It's just a simple, like a $350 scope. This is the rimfire version, so its focal point is, its focal range is right around 50 yards. This, again, like I mentioned, a Marlin XT22. These rings these screws are set to 22 pounds, I believe, or less. That's what shot the best out of this thing. It's a synthetic stock, very, very flexible. This thing, basically, you have to be so ginger and so gentle with it to be able to shoot good with it, but it's a good practice. This is a factory trigger. Didn't change anything on there, and it's a Caldwell. Basically, it's got like this clone Harris bipod style bipod there. It's basically as cheap as it can go. The rings, I don't even know the brand of them. They're just cheap. So, but like I mentioned in a previous video, this gun only shoots basically only shoots CCi Standard Velocity. But it shoots it really, really well. Now this is like a $280 gun, somewhere around there, Canadian, and this is like a $350 scope, and it's cheap. So I'll just run through my nice gun, my bigger gun, and I'll show you how I compared the two. So this one, like I mentioned before, I'll just go over it again. Again, this is cleared, so there's nothing in there. So this is a CZ457 MTR. And it's got the 20-inch barrel on there. And what else do I got on here? Again, I mentioned before, these are all Area 419 Picatinny, Area 419 30 MOA rail, which I think is the best rail because of its design, how it's designed around the dovetail. You don't put pressure from the top with the screws, you put pressure on the sides, and I think it's a way better design. This is actually the best design Picatinny rail on here. This is a Vortex PST Gen 2 with the match grade rings on there. And what do I got on here? This is an Area 419 knob that I changed on here. I used to have this cheek riser thing, which is kind of ugly, but it works, practical. This cheek riser on that gun set perfectly, but I changed it to this guy. Barely squeezes on there, but it's way more practical. And I put a Yo Dave spring on there to lighten up the trigger. This is an Atlas bipod. I mean, I went all out. But what's nice about it is I could take this scope, this exact mount, and put it on a different gun and take these. This Atlas comes, you can take it off pretty quickly. So I'll just put that back on. And if I can get it back in its channel, I displayed how easy it is to take off and put back on. So anyway, it's all good. And so Atlas bipod, and so we're going to be ramping them both up together. Now, if you haven't seen before, you know that when I did ammo testing for this gun right here, one of the worst ammos was the CCi Standard Velocity. Now it was down there with some of the cheaper Elys. It just didn't shoot as well. So it didn't shoot well at all. And I thought maybe it was the lock of CCi Standard Velocity. CCi Standard Velocity. So I tried a different round just to give it a shot. And it shot at a .47, which was okay, but basically CCi Standard Velocity, my gun doesn't like it. It doesn't like it that much. It's not that great, but this gun loves it. So that's where I thought it could be fair if they could go a little bit head to head. Now I just want to do a little head to head. So I'm going to share some of the data with you some of the things I've learned from other ammos as well, a little bit of testing of other bullets as well, which I'll show you in here as well. But we'll just kind of go through it. So what I thought was very interesting, and I'll pull it up on the screen here, but essentially what I have here is that the CCi Standard Velocity with my Marlin actually did really quite well. So I'll show you a close-up of this one. Ignore these two top ones because I was actually zeroing in. I was shooting too high, and I cranked it over and got a little bit closer to the center. And then if you look over here on the MTR, this was 10 shots, and it actually shot half decent. It was all within the inch there for 10 shots. Nothing super, super impressive, but it still shot okay. Enough to do a 5-dot test. So the 5-dot test is kind of interesting because you're giving it only 5 dots to do it. So to accomplish the task. Now this is all shot, everything I shot here is at 50 yards, just so you know. So, but for some reason, your ammo is only as good as its flyers, okay? So it doesn't matter how good it shoots, it's really those flyers that are gonna throw you off. So same thing with the MTR and same thing with the Marlin XT22. So for some reason, out of these 5 dots, the Marlin, I had, although it was shooting in fantastic groups, the first 2 shot low, and those were 2 unfortunate flyers. So it got a 3 out of 5. Now, I shot it with the MTR, and I dropped 2 as well. This one is just about not catching it, the one right in the middle here, so I didn't count it. I'd rather get a draw between the 2 loads and have to shoot at it again. But if you look at some of these other groups that I had with it, the Marlin XT22 just loves this stuff. It just loves it. It's shooting phenomenally. Now, so between the 2, I would call this a draw right now. Now, as a controlled test, I'll show you the team, the elite team, as a control test. And with that being said, it hit all the dots quite no problem there, because that is one of the better shooting ammos out of my MTR. Just to show you that the MTR is not struggling. It's just dependent on, like, it just goes to show that it doesn't matter how good your gun is. It all comes down to how good your ammo is. And it always boils down to that. Now, I did test some SK rifle match. It performed worse than the Standard Velocity, like way worse. It was so demoralizing to shoot that stuff. But the rifle match SK was brutal. So I put that up against the semi-auto, the MTR semi-auto. It's in the MTR and it's SK semi-auto. And it actually hit all the 5 dots. Now, hitting these dots should not take too much effort. It really shouldn't. It should do it no problem. Like, absolutely no problem. I just wanted to say that like the elite team right now is still shooting the best. But this guy, I mean, for a $280 gun versus this one in Canada is like $1,100 or something like that. And this is a $1,500 scope. And, you know, it just goes to show that the different prices between something like a Voodoo, which you could pay $3,000-$4,000 for, or whatever, more than that probably, versus which you're getting consistency. And then when you downgrade to something like $1,100, $700 to $1,000 in this price range, your accuracy really doesn't go down that much if you're shooting really good ammo. And then if you drop even further down to a gun that's like $280, like when you do the research and you test ammo out, and like for this one, I did such extensive research. So I tried every torque setting known to man. I took it apart. I glass bedded the whole action here. in this synthetic stock, which increased my accuracy as well, even more. And I just like, you start to know a gun, and the difference between a $3,000 gun and a $280 gun, is there a difference? Massively. There's a huge difference between the two. But when you're looking at that price range difference versus sometimes what you can actually get out of a gun, like I use this for hunting squirrels. It's super light, or hunting grouse, or just like small varmint hunting. I'm not going to bring this guy out. This guy's shooting lights out, and it weighs nothing. And I can put it on top of my pack or hold on to a tree if I'm shooting a squirrel or something like that. And this is a fantastic hunting rifle. It's great, but she is touchy. That I cannot put any input. You have to be disciplined in getting good proper. It increases your shooting ability. Like you have to become very good very fast to use this gun to shoot it lights out. But it teaches you the fundamentals, and when you build up those fundamentals, that means when you move over to better guns, you start developing even better habits. And so I just wanted to put these two to the test. And some guys could be like, oh, see, you don't need to buy that good of a gun. This one's shooting just fine. Yes, but this one could shoot many different ammos really, really well. And if I were to do a competition or anything like that, I would definitely take out the MTR, like by far. But that's not to say that this little Marlin can't do the trick 98% of the time. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, just kind of share some of the information that you don't need the fanciest stuff to make it happen, but that you can have fun with any rifle that you have. I mean, I would just start with the rifle that you have, or that your dad has, or your grandpa has. See if you can borrow one from a friend just to get into shooting. And then you can slowly develop as you can afford better stuff. You just get better toys. You get better results. Yes, you do get better results, but it's all in the eye of the beholder, really, at the end of the day. And what do you want to use it for? If you just want to hunt squirrels, or at 25 yards or whatever the case may be, or grouse. I shot 2 grouse with this thing, and I shot 2 grouse at 100 yards, and I got them both on the first shot on the same day. I got 2 grouse with this little guy at 100 yards, and it shot lights out, and I was happy with that. It's all in the eye of the beholder. But anyway, I'm ranting too much. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you on the next video, and take care. Bye.